Welcome, dear listener. Tonight, we set sail on a calm and gentle voyage across the world's oceans and seas. For centuries, these vast waters have inspired poetry, driven exploration, and nurtured countless forms of life. Yet, despite their immensity, the oceans remain deeply mysterious, holding secrets we have only begun to uncover. In this soothing journey, we will explore 40 surprising and fascinating facts about Earth's oceans. Each fact will not only reveal something astonishing about the waters that cover over 70% of our planet, but also provide moments of reflection, curiosity, and calm. Before we begin, I invite you to breathe slowly, to relax, and to let the rhythm of the words carry you like gentle waves. If you find joy in these stories, consider supporting this channel by liking the video and subscribing. Share your city, your country, and the time of night or day when you are watching in the comments below. It's always beautiful to see how far across the world we are connected, like rivers that flow into the same sea. And now, let us set sail into the first surprising truths of the ocean. Did you know that Earth's oceans are so vast that they cover more than 361 million square kilometers of the planet's surface? To put that into perspective, the oceans are larger than the combined landmass of all continents. This is why, from space, Earth looks so brilliantly blue, earning it the poetic name, the Blue Planet. The oceans are not only the dominant feature of our world, they are also its life support system. They regulate climate, store carbon, and provide over half of the oxygen we breathe, thanks to tiny marine organisms called phytoplankton. In a very real sense, every breath you take is connected to the oceans. But the oceans also hold incredible depth. The Mariana Trench in the western Pacific Ocean reaches almost 11 kilometers deep. Imagine Mount Everest, the tallest mountain on Earth. If you were to place it inside this trench, its peak would still be submerged beneath the waves. This fact alone reminds us how little we know about the underwater world. While humans have climbed to the highest summits and sent spacecraft beyond the solar system, we have only explored a fraction of the deep sea. The oceans are also home to strange and beautiful creatures that seem to come from a dream. For example, the immortal jellyfish, scientifically named Torreytopsis dohrnii, has the unique ability to revert its cells back to an earlier stage of life, essentially resetting its biological clock. This means, under the right conditions, it can escape death entirely, cycling back to youth again and again. While this does not make it truly eternal, it is perhaps one of the closest things to immortality we know in nature. Another astonishing detail is how much treasure the oceans hide. Historians estimate that over 3 million shipwrecks rest on the seafloor, many of them holding artifacts from ancient times, gold coins from centuries of trade, or remnants of lost civilizations. Some of these wrecks have been found, like the Spanish galleons that sank during the golden age of exploration. But countless more remain undiscovered, waiting silently beneath the waves. The oceans are also the Earth's greatest library of sounds. Whales, for example, communicate across vast distances using haunting songs that can travel hundreds, even thousands of kilometers. The blue whale, the largest animal to have ever lived, produces calls that can reach up to 188 decibels, louder than a jet engine. Yet because sound travels differently in water. These calls spread as deep, rolling vibrations, like a lullaby, resonating across the ocean basins. And speaking of whales, consider this surprising fact. The tongue of a blue whale is so large that it can weigh as much as an elephant. Meanwhile, its heart is the size of a small car, beating slowly and powerfully to send life coursing through its immense body. Despite their size, blue whales are gentle giants, feeding almost exclusively on krill, tiny, shrimp-like creatures. During feeding season, a single whale can consume up to 4 tons of krill per day. But beyond life itself, the oceans are also a mirror of history. Many ancient civilizations depended on them for survival and expansion. The Phoenicians, for example, became legendary traders and navigators by mastering the Mediterranean Sea. They developed some of the earliest known maritime maps and influenced cultures as far as Spain and North Africa. Similarly, Polynesian navigators crossed vast distances in the Pacific, guided only by stars, wave patterns, and a flight of birds. These feats remind us that the oceans are not barriers, but pathways connecting cultures and continents. Even today, oceans drive global economy and tourism. Luxury cruises, coastal resorts, and beachside cities thrive because people are endlessly drawn to the sea. Yet, beneath that sense of escape lies a deeper truth. Oceans absorb around 90% of the heat generated by human activity. They are our planet's buffer, protecting us from extreme climate shifts. Without this stabilizing role, the world would be far less hospitable. As we continue this journey, you may begin to sense the rhythm of the oceans in your own breathing, slow, deep, and steady. Each fact is like a wave, gentle in its arrival, but carrying with it immense depth and history. And with this calm tide, let us prepare to uncover more secrets about the seas that shape our world. As we settle deeper into our calm journey across the oceans, let us take a gentle dive into their vastness, their dimensions, their astonishing depths, and the silent mysteries that they hold beneath their blue embrace. Did you know that the oceans cover more than 70% of our planet's surface? This immense expanse of water is so large that it dictates Earth's climate, controls weather systems, and serves as the primary reservoir of life. Without the oceans, our planet would be a barren and lifeless rock. They are not just bodies of water. They are the cradle of existence, the reason life was born, and the silent guardian of every breath we take. Every second inhale you take now comes from the oxygen produced by marine organisms like phytoplankton. So even as you listen calmly in your room, you owe a quiet thank you to the ocean for every breath of air. But let us go deeper, far deeper. Imagine the surface of the sea stretching beyond the horizon, and then imagine diving straight down. How deep can the ocean truly go? The average depth of the ocean is about 12,100 feet. That's approximately 3,688 meters. To put that in perspective, if you dropped Mount Everest into the ocean, its peak would still be submerged by more than a mile of water. This thought alone reveals the majestic immensity of the seas. Now, the deepest point known on Earth is found in the Mariana Trench, a crescent-shaped scar in the floor of the western Pacific Ocean. At its deepest point, the Challenger Deep, it plunges down to an incredible 36,070 feet, or nearly 11,000 meters. This is a depth so immense that if you stood at the bottom of the trench, there would be almost 7 miles of water above you. Imagine the crushing pressure, over 1,000 times greater than what we feel at the surface. And yet, in this dark, cold, and forbidding environment, life finds a way. Strange and beautiful creatures live here, adapted to survive in conditions beyond our imagination. As you think about that, picture the tranquility of the ocean's surface, where luxury yachts glide through sunlit waters and then realize that miles below, in utter darkness, bizarre creatures drift in silence. It's almost poetic, 2 completely different worlds in one place. Our planet has 5 major oceans: the Pacific, Atlantic, Indian, Southern, and Arctic. The Pacific Ocean is the largest and deepest, holding more water than all the other oceans combined. It spans more than 63 million square miles, larger than the entire landmass of Earth. Then there's the Atlantic, famous for its strong currents and historical significance in trade and exploration. The Indian Ocean is known for its warm waters and strategic location in global commerce. The Southern Ocean encircles Antarctica, its icy beauty almost untouched by humans, while the Arctic Ocean, the smallest and shallowest, holds mysteries locked in its frozen surface. But oceans are not just about size. They are full of fascinating features. There are underwater mountain ranges, such as the Mid-Atlantic Ridge, stretching thousands of miles beneath the ocean. There are enormous trenches, deep canyons, and hydrothermal vents spewing mineral-rich water that sustains unique ecosystems. A reminder that life thrives even in the harshest corners of nature. Consider this calming thought. If all the water in the oceans were evenly spread over the planet's surface, it would cover the Earth in a layer of water more than 2 miles deep. That's how much water is out there, endlessly circling, evaporating, raining down. And here is another elegant fact. The oceans hold about 97% of all the water on Earth. That means every river, every lake, every glass of water we drink is only part of the remaining 3%. The rest lies in the salty embrace of the oceans, a treasure chest of life and minerals. When we talk about the oceans, we often think only of the visible surface, the waves, the beaches, the islands. But beneath lies a hidden world. Imagine traveling in a submarine, descending past layers of light and into zones where the sun can no longer reach. The twilight zone of the ocean starts around 660 feet, where light fades into a soft blue gloom. Descend further, and you enter the midnight zone, where it's pitch black and the water pressure is crushing. Here, the only illumination comes from bioluminescent creatures, living lanterns that glow in the dark. A natural display more mesmerizing than any luxury light show. As you absorb these thoughts, picture how vital these waters are to our culture, economy, and technology. Shipping routes across oceans connect countries, fueling international trade and tourism. Cruise ships carry travelers to tropical islands, offering moments of relaxation and luxury amid endless blue horizons. Coastal cities thrive because of these waters. New York, Tokyo, Dubai, hubs of global culture and finance that owe their prosperity to their connection with the sea. Yet, The oceans are not just economic engines. They are also spiritual spaces. Cultures across history have revered the ocean. The Polynesians, who navigated vast distances using only stars and waves. The ancient Greeks, who offered prayers to Poseidon. The Japanese Shinto traditions, honoring the sea's divine power. Every civilization touched by the ocean has woven it into its art, music, and stories, making the ocean a timeless part of human history. As we flow gently toward the next part of our ocean journey, let this thought linger. The ocean is both a mystery and a mirror, reflecting the history of our planet and the potential of our future. It holds the answers to questions we have not even thought to ask, quietly waiting in its depths. Let us drift further into the gentle rhythm of the waves and uncover one of the most profound truths about the ocean. It is not only a reservoir of water, but also the very engine that keeps our planet alive. Without the ocean, there would be no stable climate, no breathable air, and no flourishing civilizations. The first great role of the ocean is temperature regulation. Think of the ocean as Earth's thermostat. Its immense volume absorbs heat from the sun and redistributes it through currents that flow like underwater rivers across the globe. Warm water travels from the equator to the poles, while colder water flows back toward the equator. This process, called thermaline circulation, is sometimes described as the ocean conveyor belt. It is a slow-moving but powerful system that keeps climates relatively stable and predictable. Without this conveyor belt, some regions would become unbearably hot, while others would freeze beyond habitation. Europe, for example, benefits from the warmth carried across the Atlantic by the Gulf Stream. Without it, much of Western Europe would have the climate of Siberia. So, when you hear the wind outside your window, when you feel seasons shift from warm to cold and back again, remember that it is the unseen hand of the ocean guiding that balance. The ocean is also the planet's great lung, while we often give forests the nickname the lungs of Earth. It is, in fact, the ocean that produces most of the oxygen we breathe. Tiny organisms, called phytoplankton, drift near the surface, harnessing sunlight to perform photosynthesis. They generate about 50 to 70% of the world's oxygen supply. You are inhaling the invisible gift of countless microscopic life forms floating in the sea. But this balance works both ways. The ocean is also a great absorber of carbon dioxide. It takes in nearly a third of the carbon humans release into the atmosphere. While this helps slow down global warming, it also creates challenges. The water becomes more acidic, affecting coral reefs and marine creatures that rely on calcium shells. Even here, however, life shows resilience, adapting in ways that science is still striving to understand. Now, imagine this balance as a global symphony, currents moving like violin strings, winds blowing like flutes, and creatures breathing like percussion instruments. Together, they keep Earth in harmony, sustaining not only human society, but also luxury tourism, world economies, and even the quiet calm you are experiencing now. The ocean does not only stabilize climate and air. It is also the source of nutrition for billions of people. Fish, shellfish, and sea plants form the diet of communities worldwide. Coastal economies thrive on fishing industries, supporting both humble villages and massive export markets. Tuna from the Pacific, cod from the North Atlantic, shrimp from the Indian Ocean. These are not just foods, but threads of a global economic network. When you think of the sushi served in Tokyo or the seafood paella enjoyed in Spain, you are tasting the labor of the ocean itself. Beyond nutrition, the ocean is an economic powerhouse. 90% of the world's trade is carried by sea. Enormous container ships glide silently across the water, carrying everything from technology and luxury goods to food and building materials. Every city skyline filled with glass towers, every family home furnished with global products, owes something to the steady heartbeat of ocean trade. Tourism, too, thrives on the sea's generosity. Think of island nations like the Maldives, where turquoise waters welcome travelers seeking serenity. Think of Mediterranean cruises, Caribbean beach resorts, or luxury yachts moored along the French Riviera. These experiences are not just leisure. They are part of a global economy worth billions of dollars, sustained entirely by the beauty and allure of the ocean. But perhaps the most calming aspect of the ocean's role is psychological. For centuries, humans have turned to the sea for inspiration, healing, and peace. Poets have written verses about its eternal rhythm. Musicians have captured its waves in symphonies. Travelers have sought coastal escapes to restore their minds. When you watch the tide rise and fall, when you hear the whisper of waves breaking on the shore, you are connecting with a rhythm as old as time itself. Now, consider one fascinating fact that might gently surprise you. Sound travels faster and farther in water than in air. This means that whales and dolphins can communicate across vast distances, sometimes hundreds of miles apart, through the medium of the sea. The ocean is not silent. It is alive with songs, signals, and echoes that knit its creatures into a hidden community. Scientists have even discovered that certain fish use rhythmic pops and clicks like an underwater orchestra. This soundscape, though invisible to us, is another reminder of the ocean's role as a living system. While we may see only its surface, smooth waves reflecting the sky, beneath lies a symphony of life, working together in ways that science is still uncovering. The ocean, then, is not just water. It is a system of life support, a conveyor of luxury travel and global trade, a source of food and oxygen, and a canvas for human culture. It is, in many ways, the most essential element of our survival. So, as you continue to relax into this gentle narration, let the thought linger. Every sip of air, every grain of food, every shift of the seasons is touched by the sea. It is always there, unseen but present, carrying us forward. Now, let us journey downward, away from the familiar, sunlit waters, into the places where light fades and mystery begins. The ocean's depths are perhaps the most mysterious regions of our planet, holding secrets we have barely begun to touch. Though we have walked on the moon and sent probes to distant planets, more than 80% of the ocean floor remains unexplored. It is Earth's last great frontier. The descent begins in the sunlight zone, where most marine life we know thrives. Dolphins, coral reefs, and schools of fish shimmering in colors. But as we sink deeper, past 200 meters, light begins to fade. This twilight zone, called the mesopelagic, is a realm of shadows and glowing creatures. Bioluminescence becomes common here, a natural glow produced by chemical reactions within the bodies of fish, squid, and jellyfish. Imagine thousands of sparks in the dark, forming constellations not in the sky, but beneath the sea. Deeper still lies the midnight zone, where no sunlight penetrates at all. Here, the pressure is immense, hundreds of times greater than at the surface. Yet, life persists. Anglerfish dangle glowing lures to attract prey. Giant squids, once thought of as mythical creatures, roam these depths, with eyes the size of dinner plates to capture even the faintest glimmer of light. Beyond this, the abyssal zone stretches across much of the ocean floor, a cold and silent world of extreme pressure and near-freezing temperatures. Strange creatures like the gulper eel with its enormous mouth, or sea cucumbers that crawl like gentle ghosts, survive here in conditions few other life forms could endure. Scientists believe millions of species may still remain undiscovered in these depths. Each expedition into this realm often uncovers new organisms that rewrite what we thought possible. At the very deepest points, we find the Hadu zone, named after Hades, the Greek god of the underworld. The Mariana Trench, located in the western Pacific, is the deepest known place on Earth. Its lowest point, Challenger Deep, plunges nearly 11,000 meters below the surface. Deeper than Mount Everest is tall. Imagine standing at the peak of Everest, then flipping that mountain upside down. That is how deep the trench descends. In 2012, explorer James Cameron made a solo descent into this trench, describing it as a desolate, alien world. He reported seeing microbial mats and shrimp-like creatures clinging to life under unimaginable pressure. Since then, robotic vehicles have gone deeper, finding evidence of plastic waste even in these pristine places, a reminder of how interconnected human activity and the ocean truly are. The deep ocean is also a place of surprising warmth. Hydrothermal vents found along underwater mountain ranges called mid-ocean ridges spew superheated water rich in minerals. Around these vents, entire ecosystems thrive without sunlight, relying instead on chemosynthesis, a process where bacteria create energy from chemical reactions. Towering black smoker chimneys release plumes of mineral-rich water, and unique creatures like tubeworms, blind crabs, and ventfish gather in dense communities. These ecosystems challenge our very definition of life, showing that survival does not always depend on the sun. Scientists even believe these hydrothermal vents could hold clues to the origins of life on Earth. In the mineral-rich, chemical soup of the early ocean, life may have sparked billions of years ago, nourished by the heat of the planet's crust. And some speculate that if life exists on other ocean worlds, such as Jupiter's moon, Europa, or Saturn's moon, Enceladus, it might resemble the organisms found around Earth's deep-sea vents. Beyond biology, the deep ocean also hides geological wonders. The longest mountain range in the world is not the Andes or the Himalayas, but the Mid-Ocean Ridge. It's a continuous chain of undersea mountains stretching more than 65,000 kilometers across the globe. It is largely hidden beneath the waves. Yet, it plays a vital role in shaping Earth's surface, where tectonic plates meet and drift apart. The depths are also home to graveyards of history. Countless shipwrecks lie on the ocean floor, from ancient trade vessels of the Silk Road to modern ships lost in storms and wars. Some wrecks, preserved in the cold darkness, become artificial reefs supporting new marine life. Others remain as ghostly reminders of human exploration and tragedy. And then there are the whispers of legend. Stories of sea monsters, of krakens pulling ships into the abyss, were often inspired by fleeting glimpses of deep-sea creatures brought to the surface. Even today, mysteries remain. In 1997, a sound nicknamed the bloop was recorded in the Pacific, an ultra-low frequency noise louder than any known animal. While scientists later suggested it was the sound of icebergs cracking. The thought of an unknown leviathan lurking in the depths still stirs the imagination. For luxury travel and scientific exploration, the deep ocean continues to be a frontier. Submersibles are now built not only for research, but also for tourism, allowing the wealthy to descend into the abyss as if visiting another planet. Companies have begun offering expeditions to places like the Titanic wreck, combining history, technology, and adventure in one extraordinary journey. Every time scientists explore, they return with more questions than answers. It is a place where nature holds its secrets tightly, reminding us that our planet still contains mysteries waiting to be revealed. So, as you rest, imagine yourself gently sinking into these depths, a slow descent into quiet darkness, surrounded by bioluminescent sparks, drifting through realms where time feels suspended. The ocean's depths are not only strange and beautiful, they are a reminder that Earth still holds vast regions unknown, waiting patiently for us to listen. After exploring the ocean's unfathomable depths, let us now drift back toward the edges, where sea meets land in a marriage of movement and beauty. Coastlines are the ocean's ever-changing borders, shaped by tides, storms, and geological forces. They are places of constant transformation, where nature displays its elegance and power side by side. The world's coasts are as varied as they are breathtaking. Some are rugged and dramatic, with waves crashing against jagged cliffs. Others are soft and tranquil, with powdery white sands stretching into turquoise seas. Yet behind their beauty lies a story of history, culture, and even economy. For much of human civilization, coastlines have been vital as gateways to trade, tourism, and exploration. Consider the iconic white cliffs of Dover in England. These chalk cliffs, rising proudly above the English Channel, have long symbolized strength and resilience. Made of ancient marine organisms compressed over millions of years. The cliffs are both a geological wonder and a cultural landmark. Then there are the towering fjords of Norway, carved by glaciers that once dominated the land. These deep, narrow inlets, framed by steep cliffs, look almost like portals into another world. Tourists travel from across the globe to cruise their waters, marveling at waterfalls that tumble straight into the sea. Economically, such places bring immense value through tourism, while ecologically they preserve unique habitats. But not all coasts are stone and mountain. Some are living landscapes, like the mangrove forests of Southeast Asia. Mangroves are guardians of the shore. Their tangled roots protecting land from erosion and serving as nurseries for countless marine creatures. Beyond their ecological role, they sustain local economies, providing fish, timber, and even protection against tsunamis. There are also beaches of unimaginable oddity. On the volcanic island of Santorini, in Greece, the red beach glows with crimson sand created by ancient eruptions. In the Maldives, tourists flock not only for luxury resorts, but also to witness bioluminescent plankton turning the shoreline into a glowing field of stars. These natural spectacles blur the line between reality and dream. One of the strangest coastal marvels lies in Iceland. The black sand beaches of Reynisfjara. Formed from volcanic basalt, the beach is lined with towering sea stacks and caves sculpted by the relentless Atlantic waves. Though mesmerizing, it is also dangerous. Sneaker waves can appear suddenly, pulling the unwary into the sea. Even in its beauty, the coast whispers of respect. The Salar de Uyuni in Bolivia, though technically an inland salt flat rather than a coastline, behaves like one after rains. A shallow layer of water transforms the world's largest salt flat into a perfect mirror, reflecting the sky so completely that it seems as though you are walking among the clouds. For travelers, this place has become a bucket list destination, blending natural wonder with the luxury of unique, once-in-a-lifetime tourism. Shorelines are also home to cultural marvels. Cities like Venice, Italy, have risen directly from the water, built upon wooden piles driven deep into the seabed. Venice is not only a feat of engineering, but also a cautionary tale, as rising sea levels now threaten its fragile beauty. Likewise, places like Dubai have taken coastlines to an extreme, creating artificial islands in the shape of palm trees and world maps, redefining what humans can build upon the sea. Coastlines also serve as reminders of impermanence. In places like the Maldives, Kiribati, and Tuvalu, rising seas are not a distant threat, but a daily concern. Entire communities face the possibility of becoming climate refugees. The luxury of coastal tourism must coexist with the fragility of nature, reminding us that the ocean can give and take in equal measure. In terms of economics, coastal cities are some of the wealthiest and most powerful hubs of the modern world. Ports like Singapore, Rotterdam, and Shanghai are lifelines of global trade. Coastal real estate in regions like the French Riviera or California represents some of the most expensive property markets on Earth, blending natural beauty with human luxury. For culture, many coastal regions have shaped music, art, and tradition. The rhythms of waves inspire songs, while the bounty of the sea has defined cuisines. From Mediterranean seafood stews to Japanese sushi, to live by the sea is to live with a constant reminder of both abundance and vulnerability. Even hidden shores carry magic. Remote beaches in Seychelles or the Philippines offer serenity for those who seek escape. Secret coves in Greece, accessible only by boat, reward the adventurous with quiet solitude. For travelers, these hidden places carry a sense of discovery, as though they were treasures meant only for those willing to search. And let us not forget the natural drama of tidal phenomena. In Canada's Bay of Fundy, tides rise and fall by more than 15 meters, the highest in the world. Twice a day, entire harbors empty and refill, an endless cycle sculpted by the moon's pull. Tourists watch in awe while scientists study its unique ecosystem. So, as you rest tonight, imagine walking along these coasts. Feel the sand beneath your feet, the spray of salt air on your skin, and the distant call of seabirds. Whether jagged cliffs, glowing beaches, or quiet mangroves, the world's coastlines remind us that the boundary between land and sea is not fixed, but ever alive. The shores we visit, whether for luxury tourism or quiet reflection, connect us all as humans drawn to the edge of the ocean, where mysteries begin and dreams feel closer. Now let us drift beneath the surface into a realm of color and life that rivals even the richest rainforests on land. Coral reefs, often called the rainforests of the sea, are among the most biodiverse ecosystems on Earth, though they cover less than 1% of the ocean floor. They provide a home for nearly a quarter of all marine species. To encounter a reef is to enter a living city, buzzing with activity, color, and delicate balance. The Great Barrier Reef in Australia is perhaps the most famous of these underwater wonders, stretching over 2,300 kilometers. It is the largest coral system in the world, so vast it can be seen from space. Tourists travel from every corner of the globe to snorkel its turquoise waters, contributing billions to the tourism economy each year. Luxury cruises, eco-lodges, and guided diving tours all center around this natural marvel, making it both a cultural treasure and an economic powerhouse. But reefs are not just tourist attractions. They are fortresses, protecting coastlines from erosion and storm surges. Their complex structures break the force of waves, shielding beaches, mangroves, and coastal communities. In nations like the Maldives, Fiji, and Belize, coral reefs are the first line of defense against nature's unpredictability, safeguarding lives and property. Beyond protection, coral reefs feed millions. Fish, crustaceans, and mollusks harvested from reef ecosystems provide critical protein for coastal populations. At the same time, pharmaceutical research has discovered that corals and the creatures that inhabit them hold compounds useful in medicine, from antiviral treatments to cancer research. It is no exaggeration to say that coral reefs are as vital to human health as they are to marine life. The biology of corals themselves is extraordinary. What we often think of as colorful stones are actually colonies of tiny animals called polyps. These polyps live in partnership with microscopic algae, which give corals their vivid colors. Through this symbiosis, the algae provide energy via photosynthesis, while the corals offer shelter. It is a relationship that has thrived for millions of years. Yet it is one of the most delicate on Earth, and that delicacy is now under threat. Rising sea temperatures cause coral bleaching, a process where stressed corals expel the algae that sustain them. Without their symbiotic partners, corals lose their color and, eventually, their life. Across the globe, from the Caribbean to the Pacific, reefs are facing challenges brought by climate change, pollution, and overfishing. The luxury tourism built upon their beauty is intertwined with the need for conservation. Still, there are glimmers of hope. In the Philippines, local communities have established marine protected areas where reefs are given space to recover. In Hawaii, scientists experiment with supercorals more resistant to warmer waters. And in places like the Bahamas, artificial reefs built from old ships or sculpted structures provide new habitats for marine life, while also attracting divers seeking adventure. Coral reefs are also central to culture. In Polynesian traditions, reefs were navigational markers, guiding voyagers across vast stretches of the Pacific. In Caribbean music and art, reef fish and seashells often symbolize abundance and connection to the sea. Around the world, reefs are woven into identity, belief, and livelihood. One of the most extraordinary reef systems lies in the Red Sea between Africa and the Arabian Peninsula. Here, corals thrive in some of the warmest waters on Earth, puzzling scientists and offering hope that reefs elsewhere might adapt. For luxury travelers, the Red Sea is a destination of both beauty and history, where diving among corals can be followed by exploring ancient Egyptian ruins or vibrant bazaars. Yet reefs are not always the colorful paradises we imagine. Some are hidden in deep, cold waters, far from sunlight. These cold water corals, found in places like Norway's fjords or the North Atlantic, are pale and ghostly, yet they host ecosystems every bit as intricate as their tropical cousins. Few tourists will ever see them, but they are reminders of the ocean's hidden variety. Imagine drifting over a reef at sunset. Schools of parrotfish nibble at the corals, while sea turtles glide gracefully among them. A curious octopus peeks from its hiding place, changing color in an instant. The scene feels almost unreal, like a dream painted in living hues. And as night falls, bioluminescent plankton flicker among the corals, turning the reef into a galaxy beneath the waves. Reefs are not only natural wonders, but also testaments to endurance. They have survived mass extinctions, rising seas, and countless storms. And now, their survival depends on us. Protecting them is not just an ecological duty, but an investment in culture, tourism, luxury, and the shared future of our planet. So, as you listen, picture these undersea kingdoms, their colors, their movement, their quiet harmony. Let them remind you that even in the darkest depths, life finds ways to thrive in patterns as delicate as lace, as enduring as stone. Beneath the sunlit layers of coral reefs and coastal waters lies a realm few humans will ever see, the deep sea. This vast, dark expanse begins where sunlight fades, at around 200 meters below the surface, and extends into crushing depths of more than 11,000 meters. It is a place where pressure is immense, temperatures hover near freezing, and yet life not only exists, it thrives in forms so strange they feel almost alien. The Mariana Trench in the western Pacific Ocean is the deepest known point on Earth, plunging nearly 11 kilometers down at the Challenger Deep. To put this into perspective, if Mount Everest were placed inside, its peak would still be submerged by more than a mile of water. This immense canyon is a frontier of exploration, with only a handful of manned missions ever reaching its floor. For adventurers and scientists alike. The trench represents one of the last true wildernesses of Earth. Life here has adapted to conditions that would crush most creatures instantly. The anglerfish, with its eerie glowing lure, drifts through the abyss, waiting for prey. The gulper eel, with a mouth large enough to swallow animals twice its size, survives in silence and darkness. Giant isopods, resembling oversized pillbugs, crawl along the seafloor, scavenging whatever falls from above. Each of these creatures speaks to the resilience of life, its ability to find a way in even the harshest environments. The deep sea is also home to hydrothermal vents, cracks in the sea floor where mineral-rich water heated by magma gushes into the cold ocean. Around these vents flourish unique ecosystems, fueled not by sunlight, but by chemosynthesis. Here, bacteria convert chemicals into energy, sustaining communities of tube worms, clams, and shrimp. These ecosystems challenge our very understanding of life, offering clues to how life may have first arisen on Earth, and perhaps how it might exist on distant planets or moons. Economically, the deep sea is a region of both promise and controversy. Its floor contains valuable minerals such as cobalt, nickel, and rare earth elements essential for modern technology. Deep sea mining, though still in its infancy, could one day supply resources needed for electric vehicles, renewable energy, and advanced electronics. Yet, scientists warn that disturbing these fragile habitats could cause irreversible damage to ecosystems that have existed for millennia. The debate over exploitation versus preservation mirrors humanity's broader relationship with nature. How to balance progress with protection. Tourism has only just begun to touch the deep sea. In recent years, luxury submersible expeditions have offered the wealthy a chance to descend thousands of meters into the ocean. These journeys, once reserved for pioneering scientists, are now part of an emerging industry of high-end travel, where adventure and exclusivity converge. Imagine descending in silence through endless blue, until the light fades and the mysteries of the abyss reveal themselves. For some, it is the ultimate journey into the unknown. Culturally, the deep sea has long been a place of imagination and fear. Ancient sailors spoke of sea monsters lurking beneath the waves, their stories blending fact and myth. Tales of krakens, leviathans, and colossal serpents emerged from glimpses of real creatures like giant squids, which dwell in the twilight depths. Even today, literature and film often turn to the deep as a symbol of mystery, danger, and the limits of human exploration. The sheer scale of the deep sea is staggering. It covers more than half of Earth's surface. Yet we have mapped only a fraction of its terrain. In truth, we know more about the surface of Mars than we do about our own ocean floor. Every expedition uncovers new species, new landscapes, and new puzzles. Some scientists believe that the majority of Earth's undiscovered species may still be waiting in the depths, hidden in trenches, vents, and abyssal plains. And then there are the sounds. The deep ocean is not silent. Hydrophones, placed thousands of meters below the surface, have recorded strange noises, some identifiable, others still unexplained. Whale songs travel vast distances, filling the water with haunting melodies. Mysterious booms and hums echo across the abyss, some later traced to geological activity, others still unsolved. Listening to the deep sea is like eavesdropping on a conversation billions of years in the making. At night, bioluminescence transforms the deep into a dreamlike world. Countless creatures emit light for communication, camouflage, or hunting. Shimmering flashes and glowing patterns drift through the darkness like stars scattered in an endless night sky. Imagine floating there, surrounded by galaxies of living light, feeling as though you are suspended between worlds, half in the ocean and half among the stars. The deep sea reminds us of perspective. For all our advances in travel, technology, and luxury, there are still places on Earth untouched, unknowable, and beyond our complete understanding. It is a humbling thought that beneath the calm surface of the sea lies an entire universe, vast and hidden, waiting patiently as humanity peers deeper, one dive at a time. So let your mind sink into the quiet of the abyss. Feel the weight of water above, the strange glow of life below, and the silence of a place where time itself seems to move more slowly. The deep sea is a dream within our own planet, a reminder that Earth's greatest mysteries often lie just out of sight beneath the waves. While the deep sea carries the mystery of the unknown, Earth's coastlines remind us of a different kind of beauty, a meeting place of land and water, culture and economy, history and future. Coasts are not merely boundaries. They are some of the most vibrant and influential regions on the planet. Nearly 40% of the global population lives within 100 kilometers of a coastline. These shores have always drawn people for food, for trade, for travel, and for beauty. Ancient civilizations flourished where land touched the sea. The Phoenicians, the Greeks, the Egyptians, and countless others used their coasts as gateways to connect with distant cultures. Even today, some of the world's most powerful economies are anchored to the sea. Ports in cities like Shanghai, Singapore, and Rotterdam handle millions of tons of goods, linking the global economy in ways most of us rarely see. But coasts are not only practical, they are deeply symbolic. In luxury tourism, coastlines represent escape, relaxation, and connection to nature. Think of the Amalfi Coast in Italy, where pastel-colored towns cling to cliffs above azure waters. Or the white sand beaches of the Maldives, where overwater villas allow guests to step directly into warm, clear lagoons. These destinations are more than travel stops. They are experiences that blend culture, history, and natural wonder into something timeless. Some coastal landscapes are extraordinary in their uniqueness. The 12 Apostles in Australia, towering limestone stacks rising from the Southern Ocean, stand as monuments to erosion and time. In Vietnam, Ha Long Bay's thousands of limestone karsts create a labyrinth of islands, caves, and hidden lagoons. So enchanting, it is often described as otherworldly. And in Madagascar, the Avenue of the Baobabs lies only a short journey from the coast, where ancient trees line a sandy path, reminding us that nature's wonders often cluster near the sea. Cultural traditions also thrive on the shore. In Japan, the Aimei divers, often women, have practiced freediving for centuries, plunging into cold waters to collect pearls, seaweed, and shellfish. In Polynesia, The art of navigation without instruments, relying only on stars, waves, and wind, was perfected by coastal peoples who read the sea as easily as we read a book. These traditions reflect not only survival, but also deep respect for the rhythms of the ocean. Economically, coastlines remain engines of prosperity. Coastal cities often lead in trade, real estate, and luxury industries. Waterfront properties command extraordinary prices. Whether a glass-walled penthouse overlooking the Hudson River in New York, or a secluded villa perched on a Greek island, to live near the water has long been considered a marker of wealth, leisure, and privilege. Yet, coastlines are also fragile. Rising sea levels caused by climate change threaten many of the world's most iconic shores. Low-lying nations like the Maldives and Tuvalu face existential challenges as their land slowly disappears under the waves. Coastal erosion affects villages and cities alike, reshaping maps that once seemed permanent. Economies based on tourism and fishing must adapt, while communities work to preserve the cultural identity tied to their shores. Still, the coast has a way of renewing itself, offering moments of peace that feel universal. Picture walking along a beach at sunset, the horizon stretching endlessly. Waves rhythmically pulling and releasing, the air thick with salt and sound. For centuries, poets, travelers, and philosophers have turned to this setting as a place to think, to feel, and to dream. The hidden shores of the world are perhaps the most magical. Secret beaches tucked away in Greece's Zakynthos, where shipwrecks rest in golden sand. Glowing blue caves in Croatia's Adriatic coast, where sunlight filters through underwater entrances. Pink sand beaches in Bermuda, colored by crushed coral and shells. Each of these places blends natural artistry with mystery, reminding us that not every wonder is famous. Some must be sought out with curiosity and patience. Coasts are also home to incredible wildlife. The islands straddling the equator host creatures found nowhere else on Earth. From marine iguanas that dive into the sea to feed, to giant tortoises that live for more than a century. Along Canada's Bay of Fundy, tides rise and fall by more than 15 meters, the highest tidal changes on Earth, revealing mudflats teeming with migratory birds, shellfish, and other marine life. These coastal ecosystems are living theaters where nature performs its most dramatic acts. And while oceans may be vast and intimidating, coastlines provide a gentler entry point. They are where children build sandcastles, where fishermen launch their boats, where families gather for meals of freshly caught seafood. They are where stories are told, songs and generations return to find familiarity in the sound of the tide. In essence, coasts represent balance between land and sea, human ambition and natural force, permanence and change. They are places of immense power, yet also of comfort, where we see clearly how the earth breathes and moves. To sit by the sea, listening to waves roll in, is to align yourself with a rhythm older than civilization itself. So let yourself imagine those hidden coves and wide, sandy stretches. The luxurious villas perched on cliffs. The bustling harbors glowing at night. The coastline is both ancient and ever new, a place where the world feels simultaneously infinite and within reach. If the coastlines of the world represent the meeting place of the familiar and the mysterious, then the deep sea is where mystery itself lives. The deep ocean is the least explored region of our planet, holding secrets so profound that even with advanced technology, we have only glimpsed a fraction of what lies beneath. More than 80% of the ocean remains unmapped and unobserved. A reminder that the Earth still holds vast frontiers waiting to be discovered. The deep sea begins where sunlight fades, at depths of around 200 meters. Below this point, light weakens until darkness becomes complete. At 1,000 meters and deeper, we enter the midnight zone, a realm of eternal night, crushing pressure and temperatures near freezing. Yet, astonishingly, life thrives here in ways both strange and beautiful. Bioluminescence is one of the deep sea's most enchanting spectacles. Countless organisms produce light through chemical reactions in their bodies. From delicate jellyfish that shimmer in blue-green hues to anglerfish with glowing lures dangling in front of their mouths. These lights serve as tools for hunting, communication, and camouflage. To imagine drifting through that endless black water, surrounded by living stars, is to glimpse an alien world right here on Earth. Some creatures of the deep challenge our very imagination. The gulper, eel, with its enormous mouth, can swallow prey larger than itself. The vampire squid, despite its name, feeds gently on organic detritus, using delicate filaments to capture falling debris. Giant squids, once thought to be legends told by sailors, truly exist, lurking in the depths with eyes as large as dinner plates. The biggest in the animal kingdom, designed to detect faint light in the darkness. The hydrothermal vents of the deep ocean reveal perhaps the most surprising fact of all. Life can exist without sunlight. Here, in cracks along the ocean floor, superheated water, rich in minerals, spews into the icy sea. Around these vents, entire ecosystems flourish, sustained not by photosynthesis, but by chemosynthesis. Bacteria converting chemical energy into life. Towering tube worms, crabs, clams, and strange fish gather around these undersea chimneys, demonstrating that life is far more adaptable than we ever imagined. Geography beneath the waves is equally dramatic. The Mariana Trench, the deepest known point in Earth's oceans, plunges nearly 11,000 meters. To put this in perspective, if Mount Everest were placed inside the trench, its peak would still be more than a kilometer underwater. This trench, like many others, is part of the Earth's tectonic story, where plates of the planet's crust collide and reshape the seafloor in ways invisible to us above. Economically, the deep sea is increasingly important. Vast reserves of oil, gas, and minerals lie beneath the seabed, attracting interest from nations and corporations. Manganese nodules, rich in valuable metals, scatter across the ocean floor. Yet extracting these resources poses great ethical and ecological challenges. The deep sea is fragile, its ecosystems developing slowly over millennia. A single disruption could erase habitats before we even know they exist. Balancing economic ambition with environmental stewardship is one of the 21st century's greatest challenges. Culturally, the deep sea has always fascinated humans. From tales of sea monsters in Greek mythology to Jules Verne's 20,000 Leagues Under the Seas, it has been a canvas for imagination. Even modern film and literature often depict the abyss as a realm of fear and awe. Yet, as science progresses, our perception shifts from terror to wonder, from monsters to mysteries. Technology has allowed us to take tentative steps into this hidden world. Submersibles like Alvin, which first explored hydrothermal vents, or James Cameron's Deep-Sea Challenger, which descended into the Mariana Trench, have given us glimpses of places that no human eyes had seen before. Remotely operated vehicles continue to expand our knowledge, revealing coral gardens, deep-sea canyons, and other marvels that redefine what we think we know about Earth. The deep ocean is also essential for life on the surface. It regulates climate by absorbing heat and storing vast amounts of carbon. It drives global currents that distribute nutrients and stabilize weather systems. In a sense, the deep sea is not separate from us. It is part of the same system that sustains our cities, our crops, and our lives. Yet, despite its importance, it remains silent, secretive, and largely untouched. Imagine drifting down into that endless darkness. The pressure grows heavier. Light disappears. And yet, life continues all around you, glowing, shifting, adapting. It is a place that humbles us, reminding us that no matter how advanced our technology, nature will always be larger, stranger, and more powerful than our imaginations. And perhaps that is the most calming thought of all. To know that mysteries remain, vast, beautiful, and patient, waiting beneath the waves. In an age when so much feels charted and known, the deep sea whispers that there are still secrets we cannot yet reach, stories still untold, wonders still untouched. As we leave the abyss behind and rise back toward shallower waters, we carry with us a sense of reverence. For the deep sea is not just a place of fear or danger. It is a sanctuary of mysteries, a reminder that the world is far from fully understood, and that curiosity will always have somewhere new to explore. If the deep sea represents mystery, then coastlines represent humanity's connection to the ocean. For thousands of years, civilizations have been drawn to the meeting point of land and sea. From the earliest fishing villages to vast modern ports, the ocean has shaped economies, cultures, and even the identity of entire nations. The coast is where human history and natural geography intertwine. Ancient Egypt flourished along the Nile Delta, not far from the Mediterranean. The Phoenicians, masters of trade, built their empire on maritime routes, spreading their alphabet and cultural influence across the Mediterranean world. In Asia, the coastal cities of India and China connected inland empires with distant markets, creating the Silk Road by sea. In every era, oceans and seas were not barriers, but highways, opening new opportunities for travel, tourism, culture, and economic power. Geography often determined the character of these civilizations. The Greek city-states, surrounded by rugged coastlines and islands, turned to the sea for sustenance and power. Their naval fleets gave them influence far beyond their borders, and their mythology reflected the sea's importance, with gods like Poseidon ruling the waves. In contrast, Japan's island geography nurtured a unique balance between isolation and exploration. With the Pacific shaping its art, cuisine, and cultural traditions. Culturally, coasts became centers of exchange. Ports like Venice, Alexandria, and Zanzibar were melting pots where languages, religions, and ideas flowed as easily as goods. Even today, coastal cities such as New York, Singapore, and Dubai embody this tradition, functioning as global hubs for finance, travel, and luxury. Their skyscrapers may rise from land, but their prosperity is tied directly to the water at their edges. Tourism thrives on coastlines, drawing travelers seeking relaxation, natural beauty, and cultural immersion. The Mediterranean remains one of the world's most visited regions, where coastal towns combine luxury with history. The Caribbean attracts millions each year with its turquoise waters and warm breezes. Even colder coastlines, like those of Norway, enchant visitors with fjords carved by glaciers. Their silent majesty drawing both adventure seekers and those searching for calm reflection. But coastlines are more than cultural crossroads. They are ecological treasures. Coral reefs, mangroves, and tidal marshes serve as nurseries for marine life, protect against storms, and store carbon that helps regulate the global climate. These natural systems support tourism, fishing, and local economies, while also safeguarding human lives. The Great Barrier Reef in Australia is not just a natural wonder, but also a foundation for the country's tourism economy, bringing in billions each year while teaching visitors the fragility of marine ecosystems. At the same time, coasts face challenges. Rising sea levels caused by climate change threaten low-lying nations like the Maldives and Kiribati. Major coastal cities, home to millions, are increasingly vulnerable to flooding. Balancing economic growth with environmental resilience is becoming a defining issue of our century. For many coastal cultures, this is not a distant concern, but a daily reality. History also reminds us of the power of the sea. The lost city of Atlantis may remain a legend, but real places such as Heraklion, once a thriving Egyptian port, now lie beneath the waves. Tsunamis, hurricanes, and storms have reshaped coastlines throughout history, destroying cities, but also creating new opportunities for rebuilding and adaptation. The ocean has always demanded respect, reminding humans of their place in nature's grand design. Luxury and beauty have always flourished on the coast. From the palaces of Monaco overlooking the Mediterranean to the seaside temples of Bali, people have long associated coasts with wealth, relaxation, and the pleasures of life. Even in modern times, waterfront real estate is among the most expensive in the world, a testament to humanity's timeless desire to live close to the sea. But coastal living is not just about wealth. Fishermen casting nets at sunrise in Kerala, surfers riding waves in Hawaii, families walking along boardwalks in California, and sailors navigating the Baltic Seas. Each of these scenes tells a story of how human identity is tied to water. The ocean nourishes not only bodies, but imaginations, inspiring songs, poetry, and rituals passed down through generations. Economically, the ocean remains the lifeblood of trade. More than 90% of global commerce moves by sea. Ports are gateways through which economies thrive. From Rotterdam to Shanghai, from Los Angeles to Lagos, the heartbeat of the global economy pulses at the shore. Tourism, fisheries, shipping, and energy all converge at coastlines, making them both fragile and vital at the same time. As we reflect on coastal cultures, it becomes clear that the sea does not simply border human civilization, it shapes it. It is both a provider and a challenge, a source of wealth and a source of humility. In every age, people have stood on the edge of land and gazed toward the horizon, wondering what lies beyond. And in every age, the sea has answered with opportunity, mystery, and beauty. To sit on a coastline, listening to the rhythmic sound of waves, is to hear echoes of human history. Each wave carries with it not only salt and water, but the memory of ships, trade, discovery, and survival. The coastline is where humanity's story touches the ocean's eternal flow, creating a bond that is as ancient as it is unbroken. Waves and tides are the heartbeat of the ocean. Rhythmic motions that shape coastlines, guide sailors, and inspire poets. They are simple to observe, yet complex in their origins, and they reveal much about the interconnectedness of Earth's systems, from the pull of the moon to the push of distant storms. Let us begin with tides, the daily rise and fall of the ocean's surface. This phenomenon is caused by the gravitational pull of the moon and, to a lesser extent, the sun. As the moon's gravity draws Earth's oceans toward it, a bulge of water forms, creating high tide in one place and low tide elsewhere. On the opposite side of the planet, another bulge forms, resulting in a second high tide. This cycle repeats twice each day, connecting coastal life to the eternal dance between Earth and its celestial neighbors. For coastal communities, tides are not just background motion, but an essential part of daily life. Fishermen in Bangladesh time their work with the tide, knowing when the waters will rise high enough to carry their boats safely. In the United Kingdom, dramatic tidal ranges in places like the Severn Estuary can change the landscape within hours, exposing vast mudflats before submerging them once again. For centuries, sailors studied tide charts as carefully as maps, because misjudging the tide could strand a ship or doom a voyage. Tides also have great economic and technological value. In France and South Korea, tidal energy plants harness the power of moving water to generate renewable electricity. As the world searches for sustainable energy, the predictable rhythm of tides offers a clean, reliable solution that links the science of nature with the future of technology. Now we turn to waves, those rolling motions that travel endlessly across the ocean's surface. At their simplest, waves are created by wind, which transfers energy to the water. Gentle breezes create ripples, while powerful storms can send enormous waves racing across entire oceans. These waves, known as swells, may travel thousands of kilometers before breaking on distant shores, carrying the memory of storms long past. For those who live by the sea, waves are a constant companion. Surfers in Hawaii and Australia study the rhythm of swells with the devotion of scientists learning to read the ocean's moods. In places like Portugal, the world's largest surfable waves form, towering over 30 meters high. These giants, born of unique underwater geography, attract thrill seekers from across the globe, combining luxury tourism with the raw power of nature. But waves are not only about recreation. They sculpt coastlines, eroding cliffs, carving arches, and building beaches. Over centuries, waves can reshape entire landscapes, creating natural wonders like the 12 Apostles in Australia or the sea stacks of Iceland. They are both destructive and creative, demonstrating the slow but relentless artistry of nature. Beyond surface waves lies another hidden rhythm: internal waves. These enormous waves move deep beneath the ocean surface, invisible to most eyes, but revealed by satellites and instruments. Internal waves can be hundreds of meters tall and stretch 4 kilometers, transporting energy and nutrients that sustain marine life. Their quiet presence reminds us that the ocean's movements are layered and complex, a hidden symphony of motion beneath the surface, calm. The connection between tides and human culture is profound. Many traditions have seen tides as mystical forces. Ancient Polynesians, master navigators of the Pacific, understood how tidal shifts could reveal safe passages through reefs. In Celtic folklore, tides were believed to be governed by supernatural beings, linking the sea's motion to the spiritual world. Even today, the phrase "turn of a tide" symbolizes hope and change, showing how deeply these natural rhythms have entered human imagination. Waves to inspire art and culture. The Japanese woodblock print, "The Great Wave" off Kanagawa, captures both beauty and danger. Its curling crest, forever frozen in time. Poets from Homer to Pablo Neruda have written of waves as metaphors for emotion, struggle, and eternity. For people everywhere, waves embody both tranquility and turbulence, reflecting the dual nature of the sea. From an economic perspective, understanding waves and tides is vital. Ports and shipping companies rely on tide tables to schedule the arrival of massive cargo ships. Engineers design coastal defenses by studying how waves break against seawalls. Luxury beach resorts must anticipate tidal patterns to protect their shorelines. Even space agencies use tidal data, since the same gravitational forces that move oceans affect satellites orbiting Earth. In recent years, climate change has brought new urgency to the study of waves and tides. Rising sea levels amplify the effects of tides, turning routine high tides into destructive king tides. In places like Miami and Jakarta, stronger storms fueled by warmer oceans generate larger, more dangerous waves, threatening coastal tourism, economies, and infrastructure. Here again, the ocean reminds us of its power. Steady, ancient, yet responsive to human influence. And yet, there is peace in watching waves and tides. To sit on a beach at dusk, listening to the steady rhythm of waves, is to feel the pulse of the planet. The tide flows out and then returns, as it has done for millions of years. The waves arrive in endless procession, each one slightly different, yet all connected. This constancy is soothing, a reminder that while human lives may change rapidly, the ocean continues its eternal cycles. The science of waves and tides bridges physics, culture, economy, and emotion. They are at once mathematical and poetic, predictable and mysterious. They reveal the forces that connect Earth, Moon, and Sun, and they show how deeply human lives are tied to the movements of water. In their rhythm, we find both knowledge and comfort, a lullaby written by the sea itself. The ocean is often described as the final frontier on Earth, a realm less explored than the surface of the Moon or even Mars. While we walk confidently across continents and map mountain ranges on land, nearly 80% of the ocean remains uncharted. This single fact alone transforms the sea into a world of mystery, full of secrets waiting quietly in the darkness. One of the most fascinating aspects of the deep sea is the concept of hydrothermal vents. These are openings on the seafloor where water, heated by magma beneath Earth's crust, gushes out at scorching temperatures. Despite the extreme heat, pressure, and absence of sunlight, these vents support vibrant ecosystems. Tube worms, clams, and specialized bacteria thrive here, forming a complete food chain without any sunlight. Instead of photosynthesis, life in these vents relies on chemosynthesis, the ability to convert chemicals from the vent into energy. To this day, scientists study these unique systems to understand the adaptability of life, and even to imagine how alien life might exist elsewhere in the universe. The Mariana Trench, the deepest oceanic trench known to humankind, sits like a silent scar in the western Pacific Ocean. Its deepest point, the Challenger Deep, plunges nearly 11 kilometers below sea level. To put this into perspective, if Mount Everest were placed inside the trench, its peak would still be more than 2 kilometers beneath the water's surface. The pressure in this abyss is over 1,000 times greater than at sea level. Conditions so extreme that even the strongest submarines risk collapse. Yet, despite this harshness, researchers have found strange organisms living there. From single-celled foraminophora to shrimp-like amphipods, all adapted to the crushing darkness. Not all mysteries are biological. Some are geological. Underwater mountains known as seamounts rise dramatically from the ocean floor. Many remain undiscovered, but those studied reveal ecosystems as rich as coral reefs. Some seamounts serve as stopping points for migrating whales, fish, and seabirds, becoming hubs of marine traffic similar to airports in human society. These natural structures also influence global currents, subtly redirecting the flow of water and nutrients through the seas. Another enigma of the ocean is the soundscape that echoes beneath the waves. The deep sea is not silent. Instead, it hums, crackles, and occasionally roars. Hydrophones placed in the ocean record mysterious noises, some of which remain unexplained. One famous example is the bloop, a sound detected in 1997 by the U.S. National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration, initially thought to be a giant sea creature. Later studies suggested it was the cracking of massive icebergs. Still, the story captured imaginations worldwide, reminding us that the ocean can generate mysteries as dramatic as any legend. Submerged caves and blue holes add another dimension to oceanic exploration. The Great Blue Hole off Belize is a sinkhole over 300 meters across and 125 meters deep. Its sapphire waters attracting divers from all over the globe. Formed during the last ice age when sea levels were lower. Its stalactites still stand as geological relics of a time when the cave was above water. Similarly, Dragon Hole in the South China Sea plunges more than 300 meters and is the deepest known blue hole on Earth. These formations serve not only as diving wonders, but also as scientific archives, preserving sediments that reveal climatic changes over tens of thousands of years. Among the strangest phenomena are brine pools, underwater lakes at the bottom of the ocean. These hypersaline depressions are so salty that they do not mix with the surrounding seawater. They appear as shimmering lakes within the sea, complete with shorelines and waves. Yet they are deadly to most marine organisms. Fish that accidentally swim inside are quickly overwhelmed by the salinity. Still, unique life forms cling to the borders of these pools, once again showing nature's resilience. Equally mysterious are methane hydrates, sometimes called fire ice, found deep below the seafloor. These frozen deposits of methane gas resemble white crystals. If brought to the surface, they ignite when exposed to a flame, while they may one day become a powerful source of energy. They are also potential contributors to climate change if destabilized, as methane is a potent greenhouse gas. Their presence beneath the ocean highlights the delicate balance between natural wonder and environmental concern. Shipwrecks to contribute to the mystique of the ocean. Scattered across the seafloor, from ancient Roman galleys to modern vessels, these wrecks form eerie underwater museums. Over time, they transform into artificial reefs, hosting corals, fish, and even sharks. Each wreck tells a story of travel, of war, of human ambition, and sometimes of tragedy. In the stillness of the sea, they rest as monuments to our connection with the water. When we consider all these hidden wonders, vents teeming with alien-like life, trenches that swallow mountains, soundscapes filled with cryptic noises, and caves that preserve the memory of ice ages, it becomes clear that the ocean is not just water. It is history, mystery, and the foundation of life itself. As we leave this part of the journey, let us carry the thought that most of the ocean is still unexplored. What we know is astonishing, but what we do not yet know may change everything, from our understanding of Earth to our search for life beyond it. The oceans are not still. They move constantly, their waters flowing in vast conveyor belts that connect the world. These movements, known as ocean currents, are among the most powerful forces on Earth, shaping climate, weather, ecosystems, and even the course of human history. Without them, the planet, as we know it, would be unrecognizable. The Gulf Stream is perhaps the most famous current. Beginning in the warm waters of the Gulf of Mexico, it sweeps along the eastern coast of the United States before crossing the Atlantic Ocean. Its influence is enormous. Western Europe, for instance, enjoys a relatively mild climate compared to regions at similar latitudes, thanks in large part to the warmth carried by this current. Without the Gulf Stream, cities like London might experience winters more like those of Siberia. This single current demonstrates how deeply connected the oceans and atmosphere are. With heat transported across thousands of kilometers, currents are not only about heat, they are highways of life. Tiny plankton drift along these invisible rivers, feeding fish, which in turn feed whales, birds, and ultimately people. Migrating species such as sea turtles and tuna use these flows as guides, conserving energy by riding the currents across oceans. For centuries, sailors also relied on this knowledge. Trade routes during the age of exploration were designed around prevailing currents and winds, enabling ships to travel more quickly across the seas. Even today, modern shipping lanes follow these same ancient pathways. In the Indian Ocean, the monsoon current is closely tied to seasonal winds. Its reversal every half year supports one of the most dramatic shifts in weather on Earth. This system not only brings rain, critical to agriculture in South Asia, but also shapes economies, cultures, and the rhythm of daily life for billions of people. For thousands of years, traders from Arabia, Africa, and India sailed with these winds and currents, creating a vast network of commerce and cultural exchange. In many ways, the monsoon current is as much a story of human history as it is of nature. The Antarctic circumpolar current is unique because it flows unimpeded around the globe, connecting the waters of the Atlantic, Pacific, and Indian Oceans. It is the largest ocean current in the world, moving more water than all the rivers on Earth combined. This powerful circulation not only isolates Antarctica, helping preserve its icy climate, but also plays a crucial role in mixing deep waters and distributing nutrients. Many scientists believe that without this current, Earth's climate would destabilize dramatically, affecting every continent. One of the most intriguing phenomena tied to currents is El Niño and La Niña. These are patterns in the Pacific Ocean where currents and temperatures shift in unusual ways. During El Niño years, warm water spreads eastward across the Pacific, disrupting weather systems worldwide. South America often experiences heavy rainfall and flooding, while parts of Asia and Australia suffer from drought. La Niña, the opposite phase, intensifies trade winds and leads to cooler Pacific waters, again altering rainfall and storm patterns. These shifts in ocean currents demonstrate how events in one part of the ocean can ripple across the entire planet, influencing harvests, economies, and even political stability. Currents also act as the ocean's recycling system. They move nutrients from the depths to the surface, where sunlight allows phytoplankton to bloom. This process, called upwelling, occurs along coasts like those of Peru and California. The result is some of the richest fisheries in the world, supporting local economies and global food supplies. Yet, these systems are fragile. Overfishing or disruptions to currents can collapse entire ecosystems, showing how delicately balanced the ocean's machinery truly is. Beyond their ecological role, currents also influence luxury tourism and global travel. The sparkling blue waters of the Maldives, for example, are shaped by monsoon-driven currents that flush lagoons and coral reefs with life. The Caribbean's warm currents make it a premier destination for sailing and cruising, attracting millions of visitors seeking relaxation and adventure. In this way, the hidden forces of the sea support industries worth billions of dollars, from fisheries to global tourism. Ocean currents even carry human-made materials across the seas. Plastic waste discarded in one country can drift thousands of kilometers, eventually concentrating in regions like the Great Pacific Garbage Patch, a swirling gyre of debris in the North Pacific. Understanding currents is thus vital not only for commerce and navigation, but also for addressing environmental challenges that threaten marine life and coastal communities. Scientists today study currents with satellites, buoys, and sophisticated computer models. Yet, in some ways, this work connects them to ancient Polynesian navigators who read the sea with their senses, feeling the swell beneath their boats, observing the flight of seabirds, and watching how clouds gathered over distant islands. These navigators understood that the ocean's movements are not chaotic but patterned, and those patterns could be trusted to guide them home. The interconnectedness of ocean currents reminds us that the world is one. Warmth from the tropics touches icy seas, nutrients from the deep feed life at the surface, and winds from distant continents stir waters thousands of kilometers away. Every coastline, every island, and every community is part of this fluid, ever-moving system. As we leave this part of our journey, let us imagine the oceans not as empty expanses, but as living, moving highways of water. They are the breath of the planet, carrying warmth, food, and life itself. To understand currents is to understand connection between oceans and continents, between past and present, and between every living being that shares this blue world. The story of humanity is, in many ways, the story of the oceans. From the earliest voyages of seafaring peoples to the global networks of trade and exploration, oceans have been both barriers and bridges, shaping cultures, economies, and civilizations across time. To understand history without the sea is almost impossible. The earliest humans who ventured out onto the ocean were guided by courage, necessity, and curiosity. One of the most extraordinary achievements in this regard comes from the Austronesian peoples, the ancestors of modern Polynesians, Micronesians, and Malays. Thousands of years ago, using canoes carved from trees, sails made of woven palm leaves, and an intimate understanding of currents, stars, and winds, they crossed vast distances of open ocean. These voyages linked islands scattered like jewels across the Pacific. From Taiwan and the Philippines to Hawaii, New Zealand, and Easter Island. Such journeys were not random. They were deliberate acts of navigation guided by knowledge passed down through generations. This is one of humanity's earliest examples of ocean mastery, blending culture, education, and survival. Elsewhere, the Mediterranean Sea became the cradle of civilizations. The Phoenicians, an ancient seafaring people from what is now Lebanon, established trade networks across the Mediterranean and beyond. They were known for their purple dye, prized as a luxury item by royalty, and their mastery of shipbuilding. By connecting distant ports, the Phoenicians spread not just goods, but ideas, language, and technology. Their alphabet, which influenced Greek and later Latin writing systems, is still part of our world today. In this sense, the sea was not only a marketplace, but also a school, transmitting culture across distances. The Indian Ocean played a similar role. It was the stage for one of history's greatest trade routes. The maritime Silk Road, long before the age of exploration in Europe, traders from Arabia, India, Africa, and Southeast Asia exchanged spices, gold, silk, ivory, and ideas across these waters. Monsoon winds powered their journeys, allowing predictable sailing seasons. These exchanges shaped entire economies and laid the foundation for cultural diversity that still characterizes coastal cities like Zanzibar, Malacca, and Mumbai. The ocean, in this sense, was a great connector, weaving together people of different religions, languages, and traditions. During the European age of exploration, oceans became both a frontier and a pathway to empire. Explorers like Vasco da Gama, Christopher Columbus, and Ferdinand Magellan embarked on journeys that changed the course of history. Columbus's voyage across the Atlantic, for example, linked Europe and the Americas, initiating centuries of migration, colonization, and cultural exchange. Magellan's expedition was the first to circumnavigate the globe, proving the vastness of Earth's oceans, but also their interconnectedness. Though these voyages brought knowledge and wealth to Europe, they also triggered profound disruptions for indigenous peoples, ecosystems, and global balances of power. The oceans, once mysterious, had become highways for empires. Naval power has long been tied to global influence. The British Empire, at its height, famously claimed that the sun never set on its territories, and much of that dominance came from its control of the seas. Naval supremacy allowed Britain to project power, control trade, and protect its colonies. And later, the United States understood that oceans were not empty expanses, but critical arenas where global fortunes were decided. The oceans also shaped the course of wars. During World War II, battles in the Atlantic and Pacific were decisive. Control of shipping routes meant control of supplies, food, and resources. Submarines, aircraft carriers, and naval convoys turned the oceans into vast theaters of strategy and survival. From the Battle of Midway in the Pacific to the U-boat campaigns in the Atlantic, oceans determined outcomes that reshaped the modern world. Beyond power and war, oceans have been a source of cultural inspiration. Countless myths, legends, and artworks have drawn upon the mystery of the sea. From Homer's Odyssey, with its tales of sea monsters and storms, to Norse mythology, where oceans connected worlds, to the stories of mermaids and lost cities like Atlantis, oceans stirred the imagination. Even today, literature and cinema return again and again to the allure of the sea as a place of adventure, fear, or tranquility. In this way, oceans have shaped not only material history, but also the inner landscapes of human creativity. The economic role of oceans in history is equally vast. Fishing has sustained communities for millennia, with coastal towns depending on the bounty of the sea for survival. Salt, harvested from seawater, was once so valuable it was called white gold, and even used as currency in some cultures. Ports and harbors became centers of wealth and cosmopolitan life. Venice, for instance, rose to prominence in the Middle Ages by controlling trade routes across the Mediterranean. Its wealth is still visible today in its art, architecture, and reputation as one of the world's cultural jewels. Luxury has also flowed through the oceans. Exotic goods, like spices from the Moluccas, silks from China, and gold from Africa, were carried across seas, shaping the tastes and economies of Europe and Asia. These goods were more than commodities. They were symbols of status, connecting distant lands in networks of desire and influence. Oceans were not only practical spaces, but also realms of aspiration. carrying dreams of wealth, beauty, and discovery. In modern times, the ocean's role in history continues to expand. Underwater cables now carry the vast majority of global internet traffic, making the oceans once again the veins of connection, this time digital rather than physical. Just as the Phoenicians spread their alphabet across the Mediterranean, the oceans today transmit knowledge at the speed of light, sustaining economies, cultures, and human relationships. Reflecting on the role of oceans in human history, one sees both continuity and change. The seas have always connected us, enabled trade, and sparked imagination. Yet their importance grows as we move deeper into the 21st century. From energy resources beneath the seabed to the protection of fragile ecosystems, humanity's future remains tied to the health and openness of the oceans. As you relax and drift further into the calmness of this narration, consider that every wave touches not just a beach, but also history itself. Each tide carries echoes of voyages, migrations, and stories that brought us to where we are today. The oceans are more than water. They are memory, flowing endlessly through time. As we arrive at the final chapter of our journey through the seas, let us not only look backward at history or sideways at present mysteries, but forward into the vast and uncertain horizon of what the oceans will mean for our future. For centuries, the ocean has been a source of survival, inspiration, and conflict. But today, more than ever, it stands at the center of questions that will define humanity's path in the 21st century and beyond. Let us begin with the most pressing reality: climate change. The oceans are the lungs and the thermostat of our planet. They absorb nearly 30% of all carbon dioxide emissions and capture over 90% of the excess heat produced by human-driven global warming. Without the buffering role of the seas, Earth's climate would already be far more extreme, with scorching summers, harsher storms, and unlivable conditions for many communities. But this protective role comes at a cost. 4 island nations like the Maldives, Kiribati, and Tuvalu. The ocean is no longer just a home. It is a threat, slowly swallowing coastlines and reshaping maps that seemed permanent only a generation ago. This rising tide is more than geography. It is economy, culture, and identity at risk. Think of the luxury coastal cities like Miami, Dubai, and Venice. Billions of dollars in real estate, infrastructure, and cultural heritage stand vulnerable to encroaching waters. Tourism industries that depend on beaches and coral reefs face existential threats. Even wealthy nations will struggle to adapt, while poorer coastal communities, which lack resources for defense, are already being displaced. The ocean, once a promise of abundance, now reflects back our own excess and imbalance. Yet, in its depths, lie solutions as well as challenges. Renewable energy is one of the most promising frontiers. Offshore wind farms already supply electricity to millions of households in Europe and Asia. Tidal energy and wave power, though still in early stages, could one day provide reliable and sustainable energy to coastal regions. Imagine a future where instead of oil rigs extracting fossil fuels, we see vast arrays of floating turbines harnessing the natural rhythms of the sea to power our cities. This is not science fiction. It is a vision being built piece by piece across nations investing in green technology. Then there is the question of food. Today, the world's population continues to grow, and by 2050, it may exceed 9.5 billion people. Feeding this population is one of humanity's great challenges. Oceans already provide around 17% of global animal protein consumption. But overfishing, pollution, and unsustainable practices are pushing fish stocks toward collapse. The solution may come from innovation in aquaculture, the farming of fish, shellfish, and even seaweed. Done responsibly, aquaculture could feed billions, reduce pressure on wild populations, and provide livelihoods to communities that have long relied on the sea. Already, seaweed farming is gaining attention not only as food, but also as a resource for biofuels, packaging, and even carbon sequestration. Imagine future diets filled with ocean-based foods, sustainable and nourishing, cultivated in harmony with the sea rather than extracted from it. Autonomous submarines, underwater drones, and advanced sonar are mapping the seafloor with greater accuracy than ever before. In doing so, they are revealing not just physical landscapes, but also resources, rare earth metals, hydrocarbons, and minerals essential to modern technology, from smartphones to renewable energy infrastructure. Deep-sea mining, however, is one of the most controversial topics of our age. Proponents argue it could provide critical resources to fuel the green transition, while critics warn of catastrophic impact on fragile ecosystems we barely understand. The question is not simply whether we can mine the seabed, but whether we should, and what price we are willing to pay for progress. Meanwhile, oceans remain a stage for geopolitics. The Arctic Ocean, once locked in ice, is now opening due to melting sea ice. This is creating new shipping routes that could shorten global trade journeys by thousands of miles. Nations are already competing for influence, staking claims, and positioning military assets. The South China Sea, too, continues to be a flashpoint as nations contest territorial waters rich in fisheries and energy resources. The oceans, once symbols of freedom and open horizons, may become arenas of rivalry and power struggles, echoing the empires of the past, but with stakes infinitely higher. But it is not only about politics or economics. The ocean's future is also deeply tied to our sense of wonder. Space exploration captures imaginations, but in truth, the ocean is our inner space, still largely undiscovered. More than 80% of the ocean floor remains unmapped and unexplored. Within its depths may lie unknown species, new medicines, and even ecosystems that challenge our understanding of life itself. Bioluminescent creatures, extreme microbes thriving near hydrothermal vents, and sprawling coral gardens remind us that we are far from knowing the full richness of our planet. For future generations, the ocean will continue to be a frontier of discovery, not only for science, but for the imagination. Education and culture play critical roles in this future as well. Coastal cities may increasingly position themselves as hubs for marine research, ecotourism, and cultural exchange. Museums, aquariums, and educational initiatives will bring the ocean story closer to those who may never step foot on a ship. The arts, too, will continue to draw inspiration from the sea through films, literature, music, and visual design. This cultural engagement can foster a sense of stewardship, reminding us that the ocean is not simply a resource to be used, but a treasure to be protected. Luxury lifestyles may also shift with the ocean's future. Today, private islands, luxury cruises, and underwater hotels offer glimpses of opulence tied to the sea. Tomorrow, we may see floating cities, eco-friendly marine resorts, and sustainable forms of luxury tourism that blend comfort with conservation. The idea of living in harmony with the sea, once utopian, is slowly moving into the realm of possibility through visionary architecture and engineering. These concepts, though born of privilege, may eventually pioneer models that benefit wider humanity in adapting to rising seas. Finally, the ocean's most important role in our future may be philosophical. It teaches us humility. For all our technology, wealth, and ambition, we remain fragile beings on a water planet. The ocean does not bend to us. It demands respect. It reminds us that we are part of something larger, interconnected, and eternal. Every wave carries a history millions of years old. Every tide links continents. To treat the ocean as merely a frontier for exploitation is to forget that it is also our lifeblood, our protector, and our mirror. As you drift toward rest, imagine the sound of gentle waves, carrying stories of the past, challenges of the present, and promises of the future. The ocean has been with us since the beginning, and it will outlast us in ways we can scarcely imagine. But within our brief time upon this earth, we are given the responsibility and the privilege to care for it, to learn from it, and to live alongside it. The ocean is not only a frontier of science, economy, and politics. It is a frontier of meaning. It is where humanity may find not just survival, but also balance, wonder, and peace. And perhaps that is the greatest fact of all, that the sea, vast and mysterious, is both a challenge to master and a teacher to follow us. So let us close this voyage with calm gratitude, knowing that every shoreline is a beginning, every horizon a possibility, and every ocean a gentle invitation to explore, to respect, and to dream.